No survivors after an American Airlines regional jet with 64 people aboard collided with a Black Hawk military helicopter moments before the airplane was set to land at Washington, D.C.'s Ronald Reagan Washington National Airport on Wednesday night, officials said. The accident was the worst air disaster on U.S. soil since 2001. Hundreds of first responders have switched to a recovery operation from rescue efforts. Washington, D.C.'s Fire and EMS Chief John Donnelly said in a press conference on Thursday morning. Donnelly said at least 28 bodies have been recovered so far, 27 from the jet and 1 from the helicopter. Both aircraft plunged into the icy waters of the Potomac River. First responders, including divers, worked overnight to try to recover victims, battling choppy, icy waters and high winds. 60 passengers and 4 crew members were on board the American flight. 3 people were on board the military helicopter, an official said. American Eagle Flight 5342 and PSA Airlines Bombardier CRJ-700 regional jetliner was on approach into the airport's runway 33 when it collided with a Sikorsky H-60 helicopter at around 9 p.m. ET, the FAA said. The flight was arriving from Wichita, Kansas, and flying at an altitude of about 300 feet at the time of the collision, according to Flight Radar 24. PSA Airlines is an American Airlines subsidiary and one of its regional carriers. American Eagle is how the airline brands its regional flights. Transportation Secretary Sean Duffy, 2 days into the job, said the American Airlines jetliner was in 3 sections in the Potomac. The accident hands President Donald Trump a crisis less than 2 weeks into his new term. As the accident ends the country's nearly 16-year-long stretch without a deadly commercial passenger crash. Everyone who flies in American skies expects that we fly safely, that when you depart an airport, you get to your destination, Duffy said in a press conference Thursday. That didn't happen last night, and I know that President Trump, his administration, the FAA, the DOT, we will not rest until we have answers for the family and for the flying public. Duffy said that he thought the accident was preventable. American Airlines CEO Robert Isom traveled to Washington, D.C. Wednesday night. I want to express my sincere condolences for the accident that happened last night. We're absolutely heartbroken for the family members, he said at the same press conference. Our focus right now is to support all of those involved and also the PSA Airlines team. He said the American flight was at final approach and at this time, we don't know why the military aircraft came into the path of the PSA aircraft. Isom said the captain of the American Eagle flight had about 6 years with PSA and the first officer had about 2 years. The plane was on a standard approach, he added. That's about all I can say. The airline provided contact information if you believe you may have loved ones on board Flight 5342. American and Russian figure skaters were on board the flight, according to the country's official groups. Reagan Washington National was closed Wednesday night and reopened late Thursday morning. Officials said airlines would communicate any schedule changes to passengers. The U.S. has had a long stretch without fatal commercial passenger airline crashes. The last U.S. commercial passenger airline crash occurred in February 2009 when Continental Flight 3407 crashed into a house as it was arriving in Buffalo, New York, killing all 49 people aboard and 1 person on the ground. The crash of that turboprop plane prompted federal regulations requiring more rest and training for pilots. The FAA and National Transportation Safety Board are investigating Wednesday's accident. The Federal Aviation Administration does not have a permanent head. Former Administrator Mike Whitaker stepped down on January 20th when Trump took office. We are shocked and saddened by the tragic accident at DCA tonight, said the Airline Pilots Association, a pilot union. Our thoughts are with those affected by this tragedy. ALPA's accident investigation team is responding to assist the National Transportation Safety Board in their investigation.